Alright, before we do literally fucking anything, this is a very brief disclaimer. This is a crackhead theory that a couple of friends and I made. I'm gonna say it, this is very likely going to be proven wrong in BFDIA 20, or Carrie's just gonna pull another Ice Cube and Spongy situation where Carrie just pulls out the fucking votes and wow! I'm gonna say it ahead of time, I'm not gonna be surprised if this gets proven wrong. Whether BFDIA 20 just continues on as normal, or Carrie just shows the results like when Spongy got out, because a lot of people were accusing him of rigging the votes. But in the off chance that this was correct, just like when I made that call on Donut refusing the deal in Teapot 17 without getting eliminated, if this is correct, in the very off chance, I fucking called it, baby! Alright, so I shouldn't have to say this, but this is like obviously spoilers for BFDIA19. So if you haven't watched it yet, then stop watching the video. Like, click off, go watch BFDIA19. Why are you still here? Stop watching this. Alright, BFDIA19 comes out. Wow, what a shock, as most things do in this world. So we see that Fries got out over Tennis Ball, and yeah, this was the expected result that I think a lot of us would have seen coming. But something about those votes ain't sitting right with me, Chief. So for those who don't know, there's a dislike extension that gives the general idea for what the vote order is going to be. I by no means doubt that Fries shut up in votes. However, the extension said that Fries had 17,000 votes. The same extension, though, said Tennis Ball had 26,000 votes. Yet, all of a sudden, his votes drop. Listen, again, the extension's not always correct, but in no instance so far this season did the extension overshoot a single dislike counter. And a friend of mine actually looked through every single BFDIA elimination. I will post these all on screen now. Not a single instance did the dislike counter overshoot a vote. The order wasn't always right, but the dislike counts were never higher than the actual episode. If you don't believe me, then here's a picture of the dislike extension for this episode, and the actual results for this episode. Alright, in the image, we see that Tennis Ball has 26,487 dislikes. That's according to the extension. Okay. But in the actual episode, Tennis Ball only received 23,829 dislikes. Looking beyond just Tennis Ball's count, I want to look at Fries' votes real quick. In the extension, Fries had 17,722 votes, but in the actual episode, he shot up to 30,414. The only instance where the dislike counter was like way off was when Yellowface shot up 10,000 dislikes. So you would assume, okay, well maybe this is just another instance where the counter is off and Fries shot up 13,000 votes. I'm not going to say it's a 0% chance realistically. Looking at the extension and comparing them to the real votes, Book shot up around 6,000 votes, Needle shot up around 7,000 votes, Coiny shot up around 3,000 votes, but Fries and Tennis Ball's votes do leave a lot to be desired. But let's just look beyond the extension. At the beginning of BFDIA19, we see Tennis Ball trying to bribe Fiery and Gelatin to give him an advantage in the game, and Fiery and Gelatin didn't really have an issue doing this. And here are some minor nitpicks. Fiery announced who got eliminated, and I'm willing to believe that Gelatin's the one that set up the beacons in the sky. So if you don't see what I'm seeing, Free Smart was hosting up to this point, and all of a sudden Fiery took over to announce who got out. However, if we don't want to look at in-universe shenanigans, there's actually one more aspect to look at this from, and that's the actual vote counts themselves. Credit to the user on screen for actually making a post breaking down the votes this episode, because I'm going to say it how it is, they're right. This mathematically could not have happened. So it's announced that there were 448,219 votes casted this episode. Okay, nothing wrong so far. The likes come in. If we add everybody's likes together, you get 316,906 likes. So in theory, there should have been 131,223 dislikes. So now we're going to take a look at the dislikes. You add all these numbers up, you get 100,809 votes. So you add them together, that's only 417,715 total votes. But just minutes prior, the vote count was 448,129 votes. So if we subtract 417,715 from 448,129, we're leaving out a whole 31,191 votes. So what is this implying? I think this was really just some in-universe joke to have Fiery and Gelatin actually take up Tennis Ball's bribe with the whole slide, since we do see Gelatin add a rule into the BFDI game rules that building him a slide makes you win. I think it's a pretty safe assumption to make that the WTFers are no longer going to be the ones hosting, since, I mean, BFDI19 allowed us to vote for a new host, and we also had the fish monster this episode, so yeah, I think the WTFers are gone. So what I think is going to happen is at the end of BFDIA20, whatever it may be, since there's some speculation it's going to be an automatic elimination, or it's just going to be a regular challenge for a second immunity spot. Fries, as well as Ice Cube, Ruby, Pencil, and Gelatin, are gonna just come out of the ocean and join the others on the island for a brief moment. And Fiery or Gelatin is gonna let it slip that they just happen to leave out 31,000 votes for Tennis Ball. So what I think is gonna happen is Fries and Tennis Ball are gonna be swapped out, so Tennis Ball's out and Fries is safe, and they're gonna give Fries immunity into the final four. I'm not sure how they're going to go about that. It could just be Fries bartering that he wasn't able to compete, or Tennis Ball actually just wins part two and they just give his immunity to Fries because they were swapped. Either way, until Kerry shows the vote counts like he did at Spongy's elimination, I think we can fairly assume that Fries is actually safe and he'll be brought back in BFDIA 20 in similar fashion to Suitcase and Inanimate Insanity 2. I'm not too sure what the writing reason was behind this. Maybe it was to give Fries sympathy and give him a genuine shot at winning the season. Or maybe one of the writers just thought it was fucking funny and they added the joke in. Whatever the reason may be, I think there's just too much evidence supporting that Fries is actually safe and Tennis Ball got out.
I forgot to state this in the original recording, but I think Fiery and Gelatin rigging the votes actually makes sense in universe. Mainly because that explains why Fiery's punished in IDFB1 and Gelatin's nowhere to be seen. I don't know how I forgot about this in the initial recording, but I'm just gonna throw it in now because it's funnier to do this, and also it's less editing work. So, yeah. Alright.
That's all from me. I'm not gonna make this another 20-minute video, as funny as that would be. Peace.